Last summer, I wrote my first fan letter. It was to a director whose work I admired very much. And I'd just seen her latest film, and I liked it so much that I decided now was the perfect time to tell her how I felt. I started off by talking about what school I went to, how much I liked her writing style, and that I was a filmmaker myself. Well, film student, but, close enough. But I figured she probably got a lot of those kinds of letters, and the only way I'd get her to read it is if I really tried to make it unique. So I started over. Instead, I just made up all of these witty stories in the same deadpan style as if I was a character in one of her movies. This'll work, I thought. I'd been writing for a while, and I was somewhat pleased with what I'd done, but then I got to the bottom of the page, and I couldn't finish this really long anecdote that I was telling. Since I was writing in pen, I couldn't erase, and since I didn't want to write this really long letter that would probably end up boring her, I didn't want to write on another page either. My only option was to finish this really long story on the back of the page that I was already writing on. But that wouldn't work either, because the pen that I was using would bleed through, and then she wouldn't be able to make out any of it. So I was just looking at the bottom of this letter that I'd spent so much time on, and I was upset that it got all crammed and stuffed at the bottom. I didn't want to start all over again, and I didn't want to throw it away either. It would just seem like such a waste. But then I noticed that I wouldn't even have enough room for my name. I didn't want to write it in the margin above because nobody does that unless they're turning in a homework assignment. But maybe she'd think that was clever. No, she wouldn't. So I ended up writing it on the outside of the envelope, which doesn't make any sense either because you're supposed to write the person's name that you're sending it to on the front. So then I tried to compensate by writing a small message to explain everything that was encased in a speech bubble that was coming out of this cartoon head that was supposed to be me. I thought to myself briefly that this was the witty, ironic touch that the letter needed all along. I felt good about it. But then I looked at the cartoon face and I noticed that his eyes were crooked and he had this half smile that wasn't really a smile or a frown, and he just looked so stupid and ugly. I had already sealed the envelope, so I just held it in my hands pretending that I was her, and I'd just gotten back from a movie premiere and I was going through my mail and I found this thing. This weird envelope with an ugly cartoon face on it that was supposed to be me apologizing for running out of room, telling this really long story that was supposed to be funny, but she probably wouldn't think it was funny. She'd probably never think it was funny. So I just sat there and held it in my hands. It was already late in the afternoon. I still had a lot of shopping left to do anyway. I didn't really feel like starting over when I got back, so I just tore it up and threw it away. I had a couple of well-written sentences in there that I thought were clever and a nice introduction, but then I thought, and she probably gets a lot of these letters anyway. Now she'd have one less.
Message 1. Hi, Margaret. I got your message. Thanks for calling. You and John enjoyed the movie. Okay. I just came up from eating. Okay. Good night. Message 2. This is Bank of America calling for Sean D. Christensen. This call is not for marketing purposes. Please call us